I didn't grow old and quiet, even though all of this made me feel bad at the time. I just had to wait for the right time to give them names one by one. This is not the voice of a queen, but the sad cry of a person whose heart is broken. At age 62, Demi Moore finally names the 5 stars she hates the most. She used to be the ultimate Hollywood sex icon. Listen to this story about how a woman who used to be at the top fell. A soldier in G.I. Jane. The beauty of an inappropriate request is dangerous. She was also the first woman to get $12 million for a single part. But behind that bright light was a terrible accident. Why would a woman who was brave enough to cut her head for art and bold enough to love a man 15 years her junior in public fall to the floor because she was called a relic of the golden age? Someone told her she had a body but no soul. Who was it? Who was the man who said, "I'll be with you forever," but then left when she choked on drugs? All of this made her feel bad and ashamed at one point. Demi Moore has chosen to face the people who hurt her because the anger has grown into hatred. This isn't a biography. This is how the betrayers are shown with tears in their eyes. The story is about to start. You won't believe who gave the goddess her last stab in the back. Bruce Willis. Glory in exchange for love. He was the one who called her his goddess. He made her take off the cloak of a rising star and put on the cloak of a wife. In the end, though, it was he who sold her body and soul for a shiny lie called family happiness. Bruce Willis was the first person to go against her. He was the movie hero that everyone loved except her. Demi Moore and Bruce Willis met at the opening of Stakeout in 1987. It was a big deal in Hollywood and a dramatic turn of events. After the messy and broken end of her relationship with Amelia Estèves, Demi was open and looking for a deep bond, something to hold on to. She jumped into Bruce's arms. Bruce was a rising star who was as crazy and chaotic as Die Hard. Their relationship sparked quickly and heated up. After meeting for only a few months, they quickly fell in love and got married, quickly making a modern fairy tale. The wild cowboy and the hot muse. The public saw them as the ideal pair, enjoying both fame and a peaceful life with their family on their Idaho ranch. Bruce did the thing. Heroic figure, a model of a strong man. Demi was the sexy beauty and deep-voiced actor. They gave the country an image of strength, security, and style that everyone wanted to have. Bruce didn't want a normal marriage, though. He wanted a place to work and a celebrity called Demi Moore. He lived for fame more than anything else. His goal was more important than any promise. He needed a wife who was pretty, smart, and willing to take a back seat. Bruce said he would love and care for his family first, but it was all a lie. He thought Demi was the ideal woman, to be the stable base that would allow him to relentlessly seek the spotlight. For Demi, her 13 years of marriage were like being in a war that she couldn't see. Bruce's only desire for fame was their marriage. Bruce, who was making more and more money for the family, wanted to be the center of attention. And Demi had to play the devoted, kind wife, which wasn't in the story. She missed out on a lot of job possibilities. She turned down parts in movies that went on to be big hits, like Sleepless in Seattle and Indecent Proposal. Stepping out of the spotlight to keep the family fire going. Focusing on taking care of their 3 children. Demi made a sacrifice, but Bruce didn't show his gratitude. Instead, she had to spend lonely nights alone while Bruce filmed far away and wasn't seen for months at a time. She also had to deal with rumors of private parties and short-lived affairs that she was never asked to. Bruce said in public that he wanted his job to be the most important thing in his life. Bruce used emotional distance to stay completely independent while keeping up the public image of a family man. She once proudly said, "I was the only woman who loved Bruce before the rest of the world did." But as soon as everyone started to love Bruce as a family man, she stopped loving him. Demi was a movie star who didn't show up. She was stuck in the part of Bruce Willis's wife, and her name was overshadowed by that of her husband. She stopped being herself as an artist and as a person. Instead, she became a decoration and a prize in Bruce's collection of his accomplishments. When they were in the dark psychological crime movie Mortal Thoughts together in 1991, the comedy hit its peak. Dimitri played the lady who was questioned about the death of her husband, who was played by Bruce. She kept her secrets and hid the truth on screen. She held back tears when she was off-screen. The fight they had was a stark truth that was hidden by playing. Her eyes didn't act when she looked at her on-screen husband. They showed fear, pain, and loneliness. They were what a woman really feared when she found out her marriage wasn't what it seemed like. She had lost herself because she had given up her job and her pride for a false belief in love that would last forever. The painful peak was the split in 2000. The news called it a friendly breakup and an example of co-parenting. They kept showing up together at promotional events, raising their 3 cute girls, and on magazine covers, but no one knew what they had to give up to be so gracious. The people agreed to keep Bruce Willis's perfect image safe. DEMI was hospitalized for mental exhaustion just a few months after filing for divorce. She kept thinking about the same question over and over, like a curse. Who was I married to for those 13 years? A mate or the devil? When Bruce told everyone about his new relationship just a few weeks after the divorce, all the lies were finally broken. DEMI understood that the man everyone admired had never really been hers, and that the 13 years they had been together were just trophies for him. She fell down. She wasn't just sad about the breakup. She was sad about the truth that what she did didn't matter. When Bruce's aphasia and dementia made the whole country cry in 2022, DEMI kept quiet in public, acting like a caring ex-wife to protect the family. But in her private diary, she wrote a short, sharp sentence that summed up her pain. "I'm not mad at him for leaving me. I hate that he led me to think that my love and sacrifice were enough to keep him." She lost more than just a marriage to Bruce Willis. She stopped believing that love was holy and lost a big part of herself. For the rest of her life, this first betrayal set a terrible tone. The final blow to respectability was Ashton Kutcher. If Demi Moore's marriage to Bruce Willis broke her faith in family and loyalty, her second relationship with Ashton Kutcher took away her pride and almost killed her. This second traitor was the young man she cared for and who turned his back on her in a cold and cruel way. When Demi made it public that she was dating Ashton Kutcher, a good-looking young actress 15 years her junior, Hollywood went crazy with anger and criticism. Many people thought it was desperate, an attempt to cling to lost youth in middle age, and an insult to social values. But Demi thought this was real love. Her chance to change the story of her life, a strong protest against society's harsh view that love doesn't depend on age. Even though people laughed at her, she was brave and used her fame, job, and money to help Ashton go from being a teen comedy star to a serious movie actor. But there was a deep pit of sadness hidden behind the happy faces on the red carpet. The 15-year age difference put pressure on Demi's relationship that she couldn't see. It became a haunting fight against time and insecurity. Am I still attractive enough for a 27-year-old man? She asked herself all the time. These questions drove her to scary lengths, like going on strict neurotic diets, working out until she was exhausted, and getting painful plastic surgeries. All of them were desperate attempts to look young and slim. In order to keep her young husband's admiring look, she gave up her essence, health, and mental stability and tried to fit in with Ashton's world. She always believed that she could beat the one enemy that could not be defeated, age. The bomb went off in 2011. Everyone was shocked when Ashton was caught sleeping with a 22-year-old woman on their 6th wedding anniversary. Not the physical violation, but the emotional and spiritual one that broke Demi's heart was the tragedy. She lost all her weight. After less than 4 months, she was taken to the hospital because she was mentally and physically exhausted from an overdose. A painful plea for help from a soul that is worn out. That being said, the worst thing that happened was when she read Ashton's text message and saw a mean comment that wasn't written out of anger but out of lack of care. "You were younger once. I feel old around you." That hit the kill button. That sentence made her whole secret clear. She had a lot of fears, and all of her desperate attempts and painful surgeries were for nothing. He didn't see love or giving up something. He only saw people who were alive who were older than him. Those words took away Demi's last bit of honor. She had done everything right and been judged, but all she got in return was the lie that she wasn't good enough anymore and that her getting older was his fault. However, the media and social networks made fun of Demi as a weak cougar after they got divorced in private. This silence was the death of her reputation. Demi paid with her health and respect, but Ashton quickly changed who he was. Getting married to Ma Kunis, someone younger in his own age group, he was forgiven and praised by the press as a good family man. This difference was the last blow. In her autobiography, Inside Out, she wrote to regain her honor by angrily describing her pain. "I'm not mad that he lied. I hate that I gave up everything to keep one person, only to be left behind like I wasn't good enough to begin with. As for Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher, she lost more than just a marriage. She almost died and lost her sense of who she was and her faith in her body and soul. She made it. And at 62, the thought of these two bad marriages are what made her swear to get even. The fire is now going. Let's call out the third traitor now. Patrick Sees is a lover on screen, but he's a stranger behind the scenes. In a scene that became famous in movies, he stood next to her on stage and held her hand, making it look like they were two halves of the same soul. But when the lights went out, he called her box office poison, so they could no longer be friends. Patrick Sees the third traitor in 1990. He is the on-screen lover and the stranger from the backroom. Ghost was more than just a show. It was a culture event that left an indelible mark of love that goes beyond death. The famous pottery scene between Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, which was set to the sad sounds of Unchained Melody, became a movie classic around the world. People in the audience, reviewers, and Hollywood all thought that their perfect chemistry and the emotional looks they shared on screen must have come from a close friendship and connection in real life. They made a great pair. Soulmates who will always be there for you. Only Demi knew that the truth was a scary story about being alone. They didn't talk much when they weren't on camera. The chemistry between them on screen was just the... Because they were so skilled, both of them wore masks. The cold started even before the movie came out. As Ghost got ready for its world tour to promote it, Patrick refused to go with her. He told the directors the truth, and his cruelty was clear. I don't get along with her very well. She gets too upset. That comment got around the business and gave Demi Moore's job the dangerous name, Emotional Diva. She wasn't a co-worker, she was a bother. She was an actor who was too emotionally strong, which made things harder for her male co-stars. After the movie's huge success, Demi tried to stay in touch with Patrick because she thought that a shared victory would bring them closer, but Patrick refused to talk. He didn't answer her messages. He didn't call back. Worse, when asked about his co-star in an interview in 1992, he just smirked and said, "We had good chemistry on screen. Off-screen, there was nothing to talk about." Demi Moore wasn't mad, she was hurt. She felt like she had never really existed in the mind of the man everyone thought was her soulmate. She wasn't a friend. When Patrick died of cancer in 2009, Demi sent flowers to the funeral without saying goodbye or paying tribute in public. That silence was a personal curse. In her journal, she wrote, "The most beautiful scene of my life was shared with a person who only saw me as a role, not a human being." With Patrick Sees, Demi Moore lost the illusion of artistic companionship. He was the hero in front of the camera and the judge behind the scenes. His name is Tom Cruise, and he took away her right to stand as equal to him. In 1992, the military legal drama A Few Good Men kept everyone on the edge of their seats. Demi Moore played Lieutenant Joanne Galloway, the only woman on the front lines of military justice, next to two titans, Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. She worked hard to get this role, but while the audience saw a strong trio, Demi felt like a useless wheel. On set, Tom Cruise was so professional that he was almost cold. He didn't make eye contact outside of required scenes, say anything encouraging, or even share a meal with her. He put up an invisible wall that made Demi feel like she was always being judged by an unspoken standard she could never meet. When filming was over, Tom stopped talking to her. Demi didn't think it was personal until she heard an interview Tom gave in 1994 where he talked about his female co-stars. Some people try too hard to show they are strong. However, I believe that real strength comes from being in charge. She knew it was meant to hurt her. It wasn't a criticism of her work, but of her personality. He was saying that her intensity and strength were too much and showed that she was weak. The next fatal blow came when A Few Good Men were nominated for prestigious Oscars, but Demi's name wasn't on the list of nominees. When reporters asked Tom about this, he gave them a cold smile and said, "I'm not sure how much of a role she played in the film's success." Just one simple line, but it was erased. She worked hard, studied the script all night, and felt tense when she was paired with movie stars. Demi used to think Tom was a model of professionalism, but after all that, she realized he wasn't a teammate. He was a judge who only let people on who met his standards of control. And she was always the one he turned down. She wrote, "He didn't yell at me like Jack Nicholson, but his gaze, that was A."